It's the Brad and John Show.
And it's the Brad and John Show, executed flawlessly by yours truly, Brad the Hater Hildebrand. It is Wednesday, February 5th. This is C Block, Charlie Block. Okay. Can I rant a little bit more, John?
Oh, yeah, please do.
Okay.
And don't forget, we want to get to post office and USAID today.
Okay, post office right away. Trump needs to do something with the post office. This is, I think, what frustrates people. I listened to, did you hear Jeff Rainford on Mark Reardon's show yesterday?
No.
He was going over the polling data that shows that Mayor Tisch is in deep trouble.
Yeah,
and
right.
A lot of it has to do with the fact that the storm we had back in January last month, and the fact that once again there are other situations like this around the country where something happens and a mayor essentially gets nailed because of the fact that basic things that should be taken care of haven't been taken care of, and the people, they don't care about this, they don't care about that, but damn it, make sure the roads are cleared after the snow comes down, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I get it, yeah.
Okay. This is my complaint with the Postal Service, okay? I buy stuff on eBay, and I buy things for the radio station. Matter of fact, I'll give you a perfect example. I bought a tool case for a piece of equipment I have. And I'm not talking about a lot of money. I'm talking, I think I paid, with shipping, I paid $57 for it, okay? It was shipped on December 26th. I got it Saturday. And the crazy thing about this is, and I will give you two more examples, which right now are currently bouncing around in the St. Louis area. If you look at the tracking on this, it went from New Jersey, where the guy bought it from on eBay, lived in New Jersey. It went from New Jersey to St. Louis, and it hit St. Louis, I think, like on the 29th of December, okay? And then for like 6 days, it bounced around between distribution centers. It shows it went from the 63046 distribution center to the 63042 distribution center. Then magically on January 6th, it disappeared off the radar. It just, no more tracks, just nothing, okay? I called the guy that shipped it to me. I did call him. I texted him or emailed him through the system and say, hey, man, can you check on this? He goes to his post office. They say, well, it's bouncing around in St. Louis. They don't know what to do. And he says, the Postal Service said that if it doesn't show up in a couple of weeks, that he had it insured and he's going to get his $50 back and I'll get my $50 back or whatever it was. That's not the important thing. I needed this case, okay? And so it shows up on Saturday, okay? Here are things I bought last week or the week before, and I'll give you the tracking on this. And once again, this is stuff I bought on eBay. And once again, not expensive things. The one is a label maker that I use to, label wires and stuff like that. The other is another, piece of equipment. And this is used stuff. Some of this stuff is really old kind of stuff. But if I go through this, here, let me do the one here where the one that's like, that's just, here's the bizarre one, okay? I go on my thing, I go into purchases on my eBay thing, okay? Here's the thing, okay? It was shipped on, when was shipped? It was shipped to you on January 28th, a Tuesday. So a week ago yesterday, okay? And it shows, and this one came from someplace in the east, okay? Oh, no, I take that back. It was shipped on the 23rd of January, 23rd of January, which was what, Thursday, the week before? 2 weeks ago tomorrow, correct? Wouldn't that be right? 2 weeks ago tomorrow? Okay. It shows it left Pennsylvania on the 24th. And it took a little bit long. It got into St. Louis on the 29th, and it shows St. Louis, Missouri Sorting Center 63046. Do you know where that's at by any chance?
63046. No, I don't know.
Okay. Then it says, and that was January 29th. Then it says on January 31st, it says at U.S. Postal Service facility, and it shows my local post office. Okay. And on February 1st, it says out for delivery. Okay, so on February 1st, it's out for delivery, but I never got it. But on February 4th, yesterday, it shows it's back at the St. Louis, Missouri Packaging Sorting Center, 63046. Here's the scan. Yesterday morning, February 4th at 8:29 a.m. Okay, that's Exhibit A. Exhibit B, here we go again. It's the same crazy stuff. It shows that this one was shipped on Thursday, January 30th, okay? Rivertown, New Jersey, okay? It hit Philadelphia on the 31st, and then it shows February 1st in transit to the next facility. On February 1st, it goes to St. Paul, Minnesota from New Jersey. Then it leaves on February 2nd, and it goes to it leaves February 2nd, and then it shows February 2nd in arriving on time, February 2nd arriving on time, and then it says February 2nd arriving on time, February 2nd, then it says it arrived at the regional facility, St. Louis, Missouri, distribution center 63042. Okay, it arrived at USPS facility on 7:05 February 2nd, 63042. It left the regional facility on Monday, February 3rd at 12:49. Then it arrived at the regional destination facility 63046 on Monday the 3rd. Then on February the 4th it says it's in transit to next facility, arriving late. Then on February the 4th it says arrived back at the 63046 distribution center. And then yesterday it shows it's at the distribution center again, this time the 63042 distribution center. And this morning it says it's departed the 63046 distribution center. What the hell's going on in St. Louis with the mail? Why is this stuff just bouncing around? It's going back and forth between this place, that place. What in the world is happening? You know what I'm saying, John?
Yeah, I think if it was happening inside a major company, you would have somebody actually looking at the logistics and explaining it. But apparently at the post office, there's no need to study the logistics and try to make that more efficient. Think of how forget your desire to get the package, Brett. Forget like global commerce. How wasteful is it for the post office to send it that many places? Like, think of how much time was wasted by the post office doing that.
Okay.
So forget the customer experience. Well, what about the postal service?
I couldn't
That's just
agree.
Ridiculous.
But see, this is the interesting thing. This is the thing where, and I'm going to sound like a homer when I say this, but this is the Doge thing, okay? Elon Musk needs to delve into the postal system, okay? And I'll give you a perfect example. There was a time when if you mailed, and I don't know if you knew this or not, but the way the postal system was set up, that anything in the St. Louis area that had a 631 zip code on it, that went through the main post office downtown, okay? Anything that had a 630 or a 633 zip code that was out of the area, 630, like I lived in Hazelwood for a while, our postal zip code was 63042, Washington 63090, okay? There was a time, and if you can still go to most of your post offices where there are two, if you go inside, there's two slots. One says local, one says out of town. Perfect example. In Washington, there used to be one that said Washington, and the other one said out of town. So in other words, anything that was going outside of Washington, you put in the out of town slot, anything that went into Washington. And the deal was that if you put it into the Washington slot, they postmarked it locally. So if you dropped it in like on a Thursday afternoon, chances are that would be out delivery for Friday because it stayed right there in that post office, okay? They canceled it, went it through the sorting machine, and it went out the next day. Now that goes downtown. And the crazy part of this is I did business with a guy late last year with a guy in Springfield, Illinois, and I sent him a payment. I sent him a cashier's check, something I was buying, okay? And I sent it to him like on a Monday. A Tuesday of the next week he got it. I sent it next day, their next day service, okay? And he said to me, the Postal Service sucks here because everything goes through St. Louis now. I go, whoa. In Springfield, Illinois? He says, yeah. He says, if we put a letter in the mailbox, and he says, if we send mail out, if we send like invoices or payments out, it goes from, and he says, if it's down the street, if it's across town in Springfield, it goes through the Springfield post office, goes down to St. Louis, goes through the St. Louis sorting facility, gets back on a truck, goes back to Springfield, and a lot of times will go back to the same post office it left from. Does that make any sense at all to you, John?
No, of course not. And I mean, it seems like, again, if you applied any sort of private sector lessons to this or best management, that makes no sense. I mean, I couldn't believe stories last year, Brad, that were because South Missouri had so many problems down there. And I remember Congressman Jason Smith got involved in this, where he explained that something would be sent from the boot heel to St. Louis back to the boot heel like It certainly doesn't make any sense.
It's the same thing. I have people that I know that live in the Cape Girardeau area. I have people that I know that live down in, the Carbondale area. They tell me the same story. And it's like, okay, now, in an era, now keep in mind, if we're talking about the green nature and we're talking about global climate change, don't you think that somebody in the federal government would think, no, hold on a minute, let me think about this for a minute. If you mail something in Springfield, they put it on a truck that goes to St. Louis, and it's in a diesel truck, and it's spewing out those diesel fumes and creating that global warming. Then it goes through the sort facility in St. Louis. Then it goes back on a truck to Springfield. Don't you think somebody'd say, not only is that inefficient, but that's warming the climate. That's global climate change. Don't you think, John?
It's incredibly wasteful, Brad. Yeah, and it just doesn't make sense for time. It doesn't make sense for anybody.
Now, why is it that these things bounce around? Now, here's the crazy thing. If you go to the post office, you talk to anybody there? No, we don't know anything about it. And the crazy thing is, I went to the post office the other day, and I'm an old guy. I still like to go to the post office, okay? I'm behind a guy. I waited in line for like 5 minutes. The guy in front of me goes up to the counter and says, I need a money order. And the lady says, I'm sorry, we don't do money orders today. And he looked around. I looked at him and I go, what do you mean you don't do money orders today? And she says, we don't have any money orders. Why don't they have money orders? Why is
I thought that you were about to say that there's only one day a week where they could afford to bring somebody in that knows how to do money orders.
That would be like imagine going to McDonald's and you go on a Tuesday and you go, hey, can I have a Big Mac? Oh, I'm sorry, we don't have any Big Macs today. Hold it, you're McDonald's. You should have a Big Mac every day of the week, 365, 24/7 if you're open to, nobody is in. No, the McDonald's open.
It would be like them having an ice cream machine that was down at McDonald's.
Well, remember there's that. We talked about this. I think maybe that was the Brad and Shelley days where we did the BS show. The guy that has the website, what's called McBroken. Are you familiar with this?
No, I haven't heard about this.
You don't know about this? Here.
No, tell me.
Okay, go on your computer right now. Okay, this is pretty funny. Type in McBroken, McBroken. Okay, BROKEN.
McBroken.
Okay, McBroken.com. And what you'll get is
the McDonald's ice cream machine broken? I see that. Right. Meet the 24-year-old who's tracking every broken McDonald's ice cream. Yes. Yeah, that's great.
Is this incredible or what? And somehow or another, I've read the story of how he did this, and it's to the point where how many times there was a time when I got put on a liquid diet by my doctor, and my doctor said, you just need to go to McDonald's and drink milkshakes all day long, which I did. And it got to the point where there was a running joke. There were certain McDonald's that never had their ice cream machine that worked. And you're thinking, and supposedly the story behind this is, it's sort of a weird story. There's some crazy stuff about the fact that the ice cream machines are actually leased or something like that, or some crazy thing like that. And for them to repair them, they have to call in the company, and the company charges them. And that's the reason why they don't fix them right away, because of the fact that it costs them money to get them fixed, whereas everything else they can fix themselves. I'm going like, okay, so it's corporate BS that's getting in the way of customer service. You know what I'm saying?
I get that, yeah. And I saw a Twitter thread the other day, excuse me, that I didn't care enough to click on, but it was a gentleman explaining, I believe he was from McDonald's, and explaining why, like the facts behind the whole, say, our ice cream thing is down. And Brad, it was probably based on just what you said. It was probably based on that rationale.
And it's almost to the point where you get to these companies that get to be so big and so cumbersome that they lose track of what they're doing. And John, you and I disagree on this. This is why showing up in person. This is why managing by walking around. You remember that book that came out? Who was that?
We talked about it extensively, yeah.
Right. And to the point, there's something interesting when the boss shows up and says, okay, why are you doing this? Well, and why do we have a piece of equipment that's broken? And why can't this be fixed? And why is it that this person has to walk from the front of the store to the back of the store to do some real simple task when they could just move the stuff from the back of the store to the front of the store and everything would work right? And it's like we didn't get to this thing, okay? Yesterday, we'll talk about this tomorrow. USAID, okay? And you have some experience with them. I know you're not the expert in it, but I heard a statistic yesterday. They said the overhead costs for USAID, let's say they get $1 million that is given to them by the government for them to disperse. Of that $1 million, how much of that $1 million goes to overhead? Do you know the answer to this?
If I was to be outrageous, I'd say 50%.
60% is the number I heard
And
yesterday.
that's ridiculous. Yeah.
So in other words, for every $1 million that the government gives them to give away in aid for condoms in the Congo or whatever it was the thing. There was another. It's bizarre, weird stuff. For every $1 million, only 400,000 of that dollars goes somewhere because the rest of it is in administration costs, salaries and rent and phone costs and travel costs and stuff like that. John, if you ran a company like that, how long would a company survive in today's competitive environment if their operating costs were 60% administrative? How long would that last?
It would last forever because I would make Joe Biden president and I would make sure that we got a ton of money from the federal government. I would say that we were providing charging stations for the Rittner School District, and then we would never have to balance a budget. And then I would say that I'm partnering with EMF, and then I would visit KFUO, and I would say, hey, have you heard about management while walking around? I got a friend named Jesus Christe who's coming in. He's not an immigrant. He's a direct descendant of God above. And he's going to ask you why your signal is encroaching in KSLQ. That's my idea of managing while walking around, Brad.
John.
Yes, Brad.
Say goodbye.
See you tomorrow, Brad.
8 o'clock.